All right, welcome to another Talking Hands video, and this one I'm going to talk about all the different upgrades I did in my Springfield-Armory Kuna, things to make it more customized to the way I like it, and also things to improve the few things I actually didn't like about it. So I'm just going to go over it in. I'm going to try to do a reverse order from the kind of like the least important, not like well, they're all good upgrades, but I guess I want to save the best for last. How about that? Okay. Of course, this is the way I have it configured right now. I hope everything is in focus. But I've done a few videos on this already, so I'm not going to go too much detail about what kind of gun it is and what makes it special. Just going to start going over the different things that I've done with it. I guess the least important thing, I just put this little barricade stop here. Honestly, it's just because it looks cooler. Okay, so with that out of the way, I would say one thing that I changed on here that I don't think is completely necessary, but I do like it a little better, are these selector switches from a company called HB Industries. And actually a lot of these things are from HB Industries. The reason why I changed them is because these are aluminum and the original ones are plastic. And some people said that like part of the reason why the safety mechanism was tough to move, in addition to the detent spring, some people say that there's a plastic to plastic drag that happens. So by replacing these with metal, that actually should alleviate some of that. But even if it doesn't, just having more metal things, in my opinion, is nicer than plastic. I know, and don't worry, I'm not thinking that, oh, this is plastic, it's all going to break. I understand this polymer is very strong and this is probably going to, outlast a lot of things. But still, just having that metal feeling is just kind of nicer. So I did replace this with the metal selector, but if you notice, this one on the right doesn't look the same as the one on the left. Now, they do have the same exact style, kind of like an ambidextrous style on here that would be like the typical ambidextrous safety. I actually don't like it that much because that one, when it's on fire, like normally the lever will be down on fire, actually dug into the inside of my knuckle here when I had my finger off the trigger. So I actually didn't really like that very much. It did it actually more than the stock one did. The stock one actually was a little bit more out of the way. So I contacted them about it, and they were actually nice enough to send me this one. It's kind of unique to, I don't think I've seen it anywhere else. It's kind of like, they call it the AK style. So like the AK has that lever that moves, like this way instead of in the back. So this is AK style, where this is safe and then up is the fire. And it's also made of aluminum too. So they sent that to me to see if I will like it, and I offered to pay for it because it's it's not their fault that I didn't really like the other safety. That's it did exactly as advertised. I'm just a little bit I guess picky about how the safety feels when ambidextrous safeties. Actually, on my ARs, I don't have ambidextrous safeties for that reason. I don't like having something up underneath here, kind of digging into my knuckle. But so this AK style, when it's on safe, is down like this, and to take it off safe, if you want to do it with your trigger finger, you could just move it up, or obviously you could just use this. And same thing, if you want to put it on safe, you could just flip that down. It's actually it's actually really nice. Like, kind of never really thought about it before, but now that I've tried it, I actually really like it. So I'm going to keep it on here, and I do actually recommend it if any of you guys don't like having something digging into your knuckle when it's on fire. So you have your finger off the trigger, like normally the safety switch would be down. Now it's up and out of the way when it's on fire. So after that, I would say next upgrade, I would say, you know what? Let's flip it. This trigger shoe is a metal shoe from HB Industries. I would say I would change the safety switches before I would change that. So if you had to pick between one or the other, I would pick the safety switches before picking the trigger. Not that I don't recommend the trigger. The new metal trigger shoe is actually really nice. It's flat face. And it just feels really nice to pull. It doesn't really. It's just the shoe that they change. It's not really changing anything about the way the trigger feels, like in terms of the weight or anything like that. So that's another upgrade that I did there. And I think these safety switches are like $29 each. I forgot how much the trigger was. It's not that expensive. After that, I would say I also swapped out the muzzle device from the muzzle brake to this tri-lug, which if you're not planning on using a suppressor, the muzzle brake is fine. Actually, the muzzle brake will actually help it shoot even nicer with the muzzle brake than this. But obviously, if you do want to put on a suppressor, you would need to change it for the quick detach style that you prefer. And there's a million different styles out there. I kind of just like the MP5 kind of style tri-lug. It's very simple, very quick. The next upgrade I would say I would recommend is the spring detent. Now, originally, like I said before, putting the Kuna on safe was actually kind of a pain. It was there was a lot of tension on there for you to actually move it. So HB Industries, again, the same company that has for everything else so far, they make a reduced strength spring that goes underneath the detent for the safety switch. So all it is basically like a shorter spring that's a little bit lighter to compress. So it takes some of that tension away. It's still. I mean, it's not like it's going to accidentally go from one to the other. You still have to, intentionally move it from one to the other. So it's not like it doesn't make it any more dangerous or anything like that. It just makes it a little more manageable. It's actually like very easy to do now, either with a thumb or this AK style one is also very simple to move. So that is also another upgrade I recommend. Some people have just taken some, diagonal pliers and cut off like a rung or two of the spring, but instead of modifying it, I would say just this upgrade is $5. While you're getting these other parts, go ahead and just get that $5 part. And now we're getting to the top upgrades that I will recommend for this. One of these is kind of pricey, so it may not be important enough for you to want to change it, but for me, I really wanted to, and that is the brace or stock, if you want SBR, from the Strike Industries one that it comes with. Now, the reason why I don't like the Strike Industries one is actually twofold. It's the brace itself. I have issues with it, and I'm going to go over that in a second. I just don't like the connection system. Was a backplate here with a Picatinny rail, which the concept itself is not bad. The problem is the execution. Springfield decided to make it out of polymer, which again, I'm going to sound like a polymer hater, but in this case, it actually was a bad decision. Because that is basically a weak point in it. That wasn't originally in the designs, because the original design of this gun by HS Product was to have a stock. So that back piece was 100% only for the civilian version. So that piece, if you've watched Honest Outlaw's review, I recommend his channel. He seems pretty objective. I mean, I don't agree with everything he says, but I do believe he believes in the things he says. He's not saying it to promote a sponsor or anything like that. So he did say that he liked the Kuna, but when he drop tested it, that part broke. Now, the cheapest option to fix that problem would be HB Industries, the same company that has been doing all these other things, and some others, I think like Nexus also, but they sell, I really highly recommend HB Industries. They're actually like very good customer service, they're great people. They sell a replacement backplate with the Picatinny rail made out of aluminum. If you don't want to go this whole path, because this is pretty expensive, this brace adapter is about $350. The brace itself is like 90 or something like that. So the whole thing comes up to like $440. So it's actually a pretty expensive an upgrade. It's like half the price of the gun itself. But I mean, it's sweet. You could do length of pull adjustments. The cheek weld adjusts, it folds, it rips open. I'm going to go over that in a second. But yeah, the cheapest way to fix that issue is to just replace that back piece with the aluminum one, and that's I forgot how much it was, probably like 50, 60 bucks. I'll put it on the screen. But anyway, but this one is the HB Industries, oh no, this one, I'm sorry. This is A3 Industries, another Industries, A3 Industries HD stock brace adapter. And like I said, it's pretty expensive, but it has all the adjustments for length of pull. You could change the cheek weld height and everything like that. So it's actually really nice. The best upgrade though, besides those things, is that with the Strike Industries brace, this thing's a pain in the nuts to fold. The Strike Industries brace, when it's folded, you can't just rip it open. So like if you need to use a gun in an emergency, you actually have to like actuate the mechanism to unlock it before you can fold it out. See, I don't really think that's a good idea. I guess, to be able to get the gun in use is something that you might need to do in an emergency. So, you should be able to rip it open. This one, while as you saw, is a pain in the butt to fold it. That's true. And when you read the reviews, you can see a lot of other people saying that. You're going to see my review saying that. So that is a problem. But the thing is, you're never going to need to fold it in an emergency. So to me, that's like something I hope they fix, but it's like not a deal breaker. Now to deploy it with this one, just rip it open. It's great. It's awesome. And like I said, with the length of pull, and this is nice and wide and it's made of aluminum. It's actually very nice to shoot with. And finally, we're going to come to what I think is the best upgrade. And this is like, if you're going to only buy one thing, if you're only going to buy one thing, this is what I recommend you to buy. Now, the whole big sell about the roller delay blowback system is that it's supposed to be lighter recoil, and it is. Compared to direct blowback PCCs, it definitely is smoother and lighter in recoil. But people try to compare it with the MP5, and honestly, the ones that try to say that, oh, it's the same as MP5, they're exaggerating, or maybe they haven't shot an MP5 recently or anything like that, or something like that. I don't know, but it's not as nice as MP5. I can tell you that right now. I've shot MP5s plenty of times, and it's definitely much lighter recoil than this was out of the box. Except HB Industries, that company that has made all these other products I've recommended, and again, I'm not sponsored by any HB Industries or anybody, because like I said, my channel is so small, nobody's going to sponsor me. But they make something called a short stroke buffer kit. It's 40 bucks. $40. It's not like a big expensive upgrade. All it is a heavier recoil spring with a longer buffer in the back. It's just a rubber buffer there that the bolt runs into. So it actually makes, they call it short stroke because it makes this go less before it starts going back into battery. That, let me tell you, makes a night and day difference in the recoil impulse. And I would say with that installed, it is like 90% of the way there to MP5 shooting, which for a gun this price, if you don't worry about all this other stuff, so it's like a $900, $850 PCC plus a $40 short stroke buffer kit to shoot almost as nice as an MP5. It's basically a steal. So yeah, that's it. And obviously, the optic of your choice, which let me go over real quick. If you want to be able to co-witness with the backup irons, which I actually had to use this because I went to the range one day and this was out of battery. You have to get the 30 millimeter riser for this, the aggro. 30 millimeter is from the top of the rail to the center of the optic. It's not the height of the riser itself, but that's the way that you buy it. It's called the 30 millimeter riser. So that is the correct height for you to be able to co-witness the iron sights through the optic. The taller ones are kind of like meant for ARs, because ARs you kind of need like a higher height over bore. Those you won't be able to co-witness. So that's just one word of advice if you want to do that and you care about being able to co-witness. But anyway, so that's it for my list of upgrades for the Springfield Kuna. I have all those things on here and like absolutely love it. Love this thing with all those upgrades, especially. The way it is out of the box is already really nice, but with those upgrades, it's just, I don't know, one of the nicest guns I've shot. So anyway, thank you for watching and be safe.